Good morning, First Baptist. Glad to be joining you for our morning devotional. We're going to be looking at Psalm 26 this morning. Excited to be looking at this psalm again with you. Psalm 26 is very much in the cut of the psalms that we've seen in this first section. Commentators on the psalms have kind of identified the first book of the psalms, right, which goes through, I believe, Psalm 41, the first book of the Psalms, as being psalms that were very much can be defined by the salvation of the Lord. David calling out to the Lord for salvation amidst his enemies and receiving that salvation. And we have seen that so far through the first 26 psalms. I mean, we'll see it 26 today, but we've seen that for sure. And Psalm 26 fits into that vein very well as that sort of a category. So, and once again, we're going to see David resting in the faithfulness of the Lord, the covenant love of the Lord, not looking to his own actions. He wants to be separated from the wickedness of the world. He wants to be separated from those who do not walk in the faithfulness of the Lord. We're going to see some echoes of Psalm 1 in Psalm 26. And also another theme that kind of gets repeated throughout these psalms that we see in Psalm 26 is for David calling out to the Lord to test him and to see if his heart is walking in that faithfulness. So it's a shorter psalm, but it's one that is very helpful, and I'm happy to be looking at it with you this morning. So Psalm 26, verse 1, Vindicate me, O Lord, for I have walked in my integrity. I have trusted in the Lord without wavering. Remember, we're not speaking about sinless perfection. We're speaking about faithfulness, a pattern of faithfulness to depend upon the Lord. So it can be easy to miscategorize those things, but that's certainly not what David is talking about. Because if you just look back to Psalm 25, verse 7, he says, Remember not the sins of my youth or my transgressions. So he's not saying I'm sinless. He's saying I've shown a faithful pattern of dependence and of depending upon the grace that you've given to me. Verse 2, Prove me, O Lord, and try me. Test my heart and my mind, for your steadfast love is before my eyes, and I walk in your faithfulness. See, your steadfast love is before my eyes, and I walk in your faithfulness. So it's dependence, not perfection, which should be something that should really comfort us, because we all have issues, we all have sin patterns, we all have things that come up that we battle and that we fight, and God is not interested in the one who can make it on his own, because there is no one like that. God is interested in the one who will walk humbly with him and who will look to his steadfast love as their life source, as their guide, and as their rock. And that is certainly where David is at here. And instead of, he could keep something else before his eyes. Instead of keeping that before his eyes, he's keeping the steadfast love of the Lord before his eyes. Verse 4, I do not sit with men of falsehood, nor do I consort with hypocrites. I hate the assembly of evildoers, and I will not sit with the wicked. This is reminiscent of Psalm 1, right? David likely is keeping that idea in mind here, where the psalmist in Psalm 1 is saying, we don't sit with those. We don't walk with the sinners. We don't sit in the seat of scoffers. That sort of thing. Verse 6, I wash my hands in innocence and go around your altar, O Lord, proclaiming and thanksgiving aloud and telling all of your wondrous deeds. So he's going to give us a few things that the one who keeps this covenant love of the Lord before him at all times is going to see in his life. The first one is that he's not going to be walking in the counsels of the wicked. The second one is that he's going to be proclaiming the thanksgiving of the Lord, right? Thankfulness is a huge sign of someone who's been affected by grace, and he's going to be telling of the wondrous deeds of the Lord. Both of these things we've seen ample evidence of in these first 26 Psalms, proclaiming thanksgiving and telling of the wondrous deeds of the Lord. You have to ask yourself, is your life filled with thanksgiving, and is your life filled with instances of telling of the wondrous deeds of the Lord? Because that is a life, the life that has those things in it is a life that has been affected by grace and has a keen understanding of the grace that God gives to us in these things. The third thing is that they love to dwell near the Lord, right? We see that in Psalm 23, of course. But verse 8, O Lord, I love the habitation of your house and the place where your glory dwells. This is reminiscent of Joshua, who would linger at the Holy of Holies, right? This is such an important idea. They just like to be close to God. They like to be near His glory. And, we've all kind of sensed a longing to return in one way or another in this time to worship, to be at the house of the Lord, which is not the building of the church, which is the body of the church, right? To be gathered together again, kind of like a puzzle, right? We long to be connected once again. And that is the idea that we see here. And that longing is a sign that God's grace has come into your life, which should be a comfort or it should be a challenge, right? Verse 9, do not sweep my soul away with sinners, nor my life with bloodthirsty men, in whose hands are evil devices, and whose right hands are full of bribes. But as for me, so once again, we've said this many times, the Psalms present two different ways to live, the way of righteousness or wisdom, and the way of unrighteousness or foolishness. And here David is obviously taking the path of wisdom and righteousness. But as for me, I shall walk in my integrity, redeem me, and be gracious to me. My foot stands on level ground. In the great assembly, I will bless the Lord. This verse 12, this metaphor of standing on level ground is something that stood out to me this morning as I was reading over the psalm. And, our last wilderness trip we took to the White Mountains in New Hampshire, and notoriously unlevel ground. For those trails, and not just in elevation gain and loss, but the trails themselves were just absolutely unbelievably rocky. There was just no level path at all, and it was just constant climbing over rocks and hiking over bigger rocks and gravel, and it was unbelievable. And the muscles in your legs were just not used to always having to be holding you up, because the ground you're standing on was not something that was level. But that is not the way it is with those who walk with the Lord. With those who walk with the Lord, the ground is level. So the path is straight, and they are walking on sure foundation, a rock. And that is what David is thankful for in this psalm. That's what I'm thankful for too. As we go through turbulent times, we can be confident that the ground we are standing on is level if we are resting in God's faithfulness, His covenantal love, and leaning on the grace that He gives to us. So very thankful to be looking at Psalm 26 with you this morning. Looking forward to Psalm 27. I'll be uploading that video for Friday morning. Pastor Ben will be joining you tomorrow. I believe that one is for the kids. The devotional is for the kids. Not that everyone can join that. It's always going to be great, but he's kind of aiming the application of it towards the children or the kids. And we're looking forward to that. And then we are also very much looking forward to this Sunday, joining together in a limited capacity. And if anybody has any questions or concerns or issues with the situation, please reach out and let us know what's going on, and we can do our best to get you situated, and we look forward to that very much. So looking forward to all of that. Hope you guys are having a good week, and we look forward to seeing you guys on Sunday.